iCon's latest DAW controller, the P1-M, has a lot of additional features and functions that allows us to do the utmost, well, most, with our DAWs. But are these features worth the investment or upgrade compared to a traditional use of the DAW controller like the iCon P1-M Plus? Well, let's compare the two and see which is best for your needs. Let's go ahead and talk about the first and major point that you guys and girls will be like, yes or no. Of course, we're talking about the price. The iCon P1-M Plus is a legacy device, so you could go ahead and get yourself a used one for as low as $230. Or you could get one new on Amazon for about what? $450? Yeah, that's a huge jump, isn't it? But if you're looking for the P1-M, you're looking at around $599 USD plus shipping and handling. So whichever one you want to pursue, up to you. But before that, let's go ahead and talk about the actual feature points before you make that decision.
Putting these two devices side by side, they look nearly identical in size. However, the P1-M is just a tiny bit larger, both length and width wise. About 3/8 of an inch wider and 1/4 of an inch lengthier.
But as we all know, it's not about the size that matters, but how we use it effectively.
And speaking of which, did you notice the extra fader here? You would think that this is a plus to have 9 faders, but it's not exactly. By the way, the faders on both devices feel nice. The M Plus's faders have a bit more bulk to them, where the P1-M's, although a smidgen smaller, they fit my fingers perfectly and they have a smoother moving compared. Back to the 9th fader, this acts as the master fader for your DAW permanently. For FL Studio, that is the master volume knob here, and not the master fader in the mixer. And actually, on the P1-M, this button here lets you switch out fader 8 for the master fader. So in reality, we do have the 9 faders here, just set on the 8th. By removing that 9th fader, there's a lot more space to add these extra features and buttons.
On the topic of buttons, let me bring you to something very important that I believe is the most immersive part about hardware devices in general, that being the clicky and the squishy.
With the P1-M, we have this awesome little dimple here so our fingers can go on nicely and spin the jog wheel. Take a listen. Do you hear that? Neither do I. Compared to the P1-M Plus. Oh my god.
Why was that removed? I love how the P1-M Plus has that clicky. The P1-M said no, let's throw away the clickies. Let's make things sound and feel free-formed. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it.
The only thing that I like about the P1-M is the clicks that the knobs have. But for some reason, I still prefer the squishy, snappy feel on the P1-M Plus. The rest of the buttons are up for debate, but the P1-M are flat and blend in with the device, where the P1-M Plus are white, opposite in color to the device, with rounded edges. Whatever floats your boat for that one. I like them both. Forgot to mention, but light up level signals, the P1-M has it, P1-M Plus, nope. Is it a game changer? Well, it does help to see the level signal on the board itself. It will help identify the sound you want to raise or lower, rather than breaking your neck trying to see if the fader you touched is moving the correct mixer track.
Now I use FL Studio. I gotta mention that again and again. You know, kinda like them homies from New York that always gotta mention that. They from New York, cause you know, I'm from New York.
But in FL Studio, we don't use the read or write buttons. And for some reason, the mixer button doesn't even open up the mixer in FL Studio.
Needless to say, there's an entire row on the P1-M that FL Studio users just can't use. It's not something that is there.
But what if I told you that the buttons here on the P1-M Plus can be useful? Because in the program for the P1-M Plus, we could change these buttons to anything we would like. Here's a quick demonstration for that, where I'll set these buttons to switch the knobs into a pan, stereo separation, and even a send routing setup. That's pretty neat. On the P1-M software, we can't set up those automation buttons to have an alternative. It's either they work or they don't. And in FL Studio's case, they don't. 6 buttons down the drain.
But we got 80 more buttons to choose from, so who cares?
The main feature and reason you'd want to get the P1-M, of course, is because of this touchpad feature. There is no button to save your project on the Platform M+. How about to select all of the clips in a playlist? Nope. Close all the windows? Nope. The point is, you could customize functions and hotkeys to your desire on the P1-M. The Platform M+, like I said, you'd have at most 3 customizable functions on these 3 buttons that people don't use. Granted, you know the correct note to use to translate for your DAW.
There's only 2 more points that I want you guys and girls to direct your attention to.
The Platform M+, it's only one MIDI device, whereas the P1-M allows up to 3 different MIDI devices setups to use on this single hardware device. Check out this example here where I'm using FL Studio, then I can switch over to Bitwig, and let's use example 3 here with Premiere Pro. 3 different software able to use the same device simply with the press of a button.
I personally use DAW number 3 for my screen recording software to play, to pause, to switch different scenes. But you don't even have to have a software open for the P1-M to be using shortcut keys. You can even use the jog wheel to scroll through things.
But the last point, which is my personal ick about the P1-M compared to the Platform M+, has to do with this right here, the transport controls. More specifically, the play and the stop buttons. I don't know if this is a case of fat fingers or just the byproduct of having all these functions close to each other. But most of the times, when I hit play or stop, I'm tripping over the jog wheel and I end up shifting the time head. This could be a problem, especially if I were to record vocals. Because of that free-feeling jog wheel, any degree of movement is an input, unlike the Platform M where the input happens per click. Had they switched the automation buttons with the transports, it would have made the jog wheel issue go completely away. The Platform M+'s play and stop are way up there, and the fat fingers are not an issue for the zoom buttons.
So let me wrap this up by saying this.
The Platform M+ is a very set-in-stone device that will allow you to get the job done for the transport controls absolutely. If you are only set in using a DAW controller solely for the faders, pan knobs, and scrubbing the timeline, you're set. We all have computer keyboards and can know shortcut keys easily. But the P1-M's touch features allows us to live life easier by setting and seeing the commands that we want and tapping on them. It allows us to keep our hands away from the keyboard, which is beneficial for some of us, especially when you have to slide or move back and slide out that keyboard tray to use it. Sometimes we like having our hands in one position and getting the job done.
So, which do you prefer, the Platform M or the P1-M? Go ahead and let us know in the comment section down below. And while you're at it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to stay in touch. And speaking of, what if I told you that there is a device just like this, just not $600, half the price, half the size, or almost half the size, I guess, something like this right here. Click this video right here to see about the iCon P1 Nano. Either device that you want to get, just remember, you're going to be an icon when you use iCon.